Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks remains one of the most recognizable and debated figures in the entire Star Wars saga. He enters the story in The Phantom Menace as a clumsy, well-meaning Gungan who crosses paths with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Within the universe, however, his importance reaches far beyond the comedic role many associate with him. Jar Jar embodies the perspective of the Gungan people during a period when relations with the surface dwellers of Naboo were tense and distant. Through him, these two cultures begin to reconnect, making his involvement a symbol of unity during a political and social divide. Jar Jar's unexpected rise is one of the most unusual arcs in Star Wars. Starting as an exiled member of his own society, he eventually becomes a representative of the Gungan population and later earns a position in the Galactic Senate. His upward trajectory shows how someone overlooked or underestimated can end up with enormous influence, even without seeking power. What makes this journey so significant is that Jar Jar never abandons the earnestness that defines him. He genuinely wants to help those around him, and that sincerity plays a key part in how others trust him. That sincerity is also what makes his role in the prequel era so tragic. When Padme Amidala leaves Coruscant during the Separatist crisis, Jar Jar temporarily takes her place in the Senate. This moment places him at the center of one of the most consequential political maneuvers in the Republic's history. Encouraged by those who understand his good intentions but see how easily he can be influenced, he proposes granting emergency powers to Chancellor Palpatine. Jar Jar believes he is protecting the galaxy. In reality, he unintentionally accelerates the collapse of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. His decision becomes a defining example of how innocence can be manipulated by those seeking control. Outside the films, Jar Jar became an early target of online backlash. His exaggerated voice, wide gestures, and slapstick humor were meant to appeal to younger viewers, yet many older fans criticized his presence for disrupting the tone they expected from the franchise. This overshadowed Ahmed Best's pioneering work in motion capture acting and contributed to the character's reduced screen time in later entries. Over the years, though, fans have begun to reassess Jar Jar. Many now view him as a purposeful reflection of the era's themes, especially the idea that naive optimism can be weaponized by those in power. Rose Tico. Rose Tico represents one of the most grounded and human perspectives in the Star Wars universe. Introduced in The Last Jedi, she comes from a background far removed from glory, legacy, or Force mysticism. Rose grew up on Hayes Minor, a world exploited by war profiteers whose wealth depended on fueling conflict across the galaxy. Those experiences shaped her into someone who understands the price of war in a way few heroes do. Her motivations are not driven by destiny or prophecy. They come from witnessing suffering firsthand and refusing to let her sister's sacrifice be in vain. Her character occupies a role rarely explored in Star Wars, the viewpoint of the ordinary mechanic who keeps the Resistance alive from behind the scenes. Rose is not a pilot ace or a legendary warrior, yet her courage is steady and unwavering. She's the kind of hero who believes that fighting for what's right is not measured by fame or recognition, but by the quiet, everyday choices that keep hope alive. That's what makes her dynamic with Finn so meaningful. She challenges him to consider what the Resistance truly stands for, pushing him to transition from self-preservation to a deeper sense of purpose. What makes Rose controversial among fans is not her story within the films, but the reaction she received outside of them. Her role drew intense and unfair backlash, often directed at the actress Kelly Marie Tran. Much of the criticism had little to do with the character's narrative weight and more to do with expectations clashing with the film's direction. Within the universe itself, however, Rose's actions are vital. From helping Finn infiltrate Canto Bight to risking her life on Crate, her choices directly influence the survival of the Resistance at its lowest moment. Her most defining moment comes near the film's end, when she stops Finn from sacrificing himself against the First Order's battering ram. To her, victory means more than destroying what you hate. It's about protecting what you love. Whether viewers agree with her decision or not, the moment captures her philosophy perfectly. She understands the Resistance cannot be rebuilt on desperation alone. It needs people who value life more than martyrdom. And in a franchise filled with dramatic heroism, Rose brings a rare and grounded moral perspective. That compassion is not a weakness, but the thing that keeps hope alive when everything else is falling apart. Zero the Hutt. Zero the Hutt is one of the most unconventional figures in the Star Wars criminal underworld. Introduced in the Clone Wars, he operates from Coruscant rather than the traditional Hutt homeworld of Nal Hutta, giving him an unusual political presence among his species. Zero's flamboyance is his signature, loud clothing, exaggerated gestures, and a voice that stands out even among Hutts. Yet beneath the spectacle lies a shrewd, calculating mind. He thrives on manipulation and social maneuvering, using connections in both the criminal underworld and the Galactic Senate to protect his interests. Within the story, Zyro plays pivotal roles in several key criminal operations. His alliance with Count Dooku to orchestrate the kidnapping of Jabba's son illustrates how deeply he intertwines crime and politics. He leverages influence, deception, and spectacle rather than relying purely on brute strength. However, his flamboyant personality also exposes vulnerabilities. Zero fears being overshadowed by Jabba and often overcompensates through theatrics, excessive entourages, and complex schemes. His relationship with Sy Snoodles, his favored performer, mixes genuine affection with manipulation, reflecting his complicated character: ambitious, insecure, and far from invincible. In-universe, Zyro's impact extends beyond mere comic relief. He shows that Hutts are not a monolith. Some wield power through bureaucracy, social connections, and cunning rather than intimidation and violence alone. His storylines reveal the political complexities of organized crime during the Clone Wars, demonstrating how criminal enterprises can influence galactic events without ever firing a single blaster. Constable Zuvio. Constable Zuvio is one of the most infamous, obscure characters in Star Wars history, primarily due to his near-complete absence from The Force Awakens. In-universe, Zuvio serves as the law enforcement officer of Nema Outpost on Jakku, tasked with keeping order among scavengers, settlers, and wandering traders. His distinctive armor, helmet, and electro staff mark him as a capable enforcer prepared for both negotiation and combat in the harsh desert environment. Supplemental materials describe him as tough, fair, and respected by locals, a figure able to maintain order amid chaos and scarcity. Despite his detailed backstory, Zuvio's screen time is minimal, reduced to a blink-and-you-miss-it cameo in the final film. Early marketing, promotional material, and an action figure gave the impression that he would play a major role in Rey's introduction or in the local conflict surrounding Jakku. Deleted scenes suggest he was originally intended to confront Finn following the First Order attack, possibly serving as one of Finn's first interactions with local authority. The removal of these scenes left Zuvio's presence virtually non-existent on screen, transforming him into one of the most underused characters in the sequel trilogy. In the real world, Zuvio became a cult figure among fans, a symbol of both marketing misalignment and the unpredictability of film editing. Memes and jokes about the Zuvio cut spread widely, highlighting the absurdity of a heavily promoted character vanishing from the story. His action figure, largely unsold due to fan confusion, became emblematic of Star Wars' occasional disconnect between promotional hype and narrative execution. Despite, or perhaps because of, his lack of impact in the films, Zuvio is remembered as an example of expanded lore and marketing, creating legend around a nearly invisible presence, embodying the unintended charm of Star Wars background characters. Toro Calican. Toro Calican appears in The Mandalorian as a rookie bounty hunter attempting to earn his place in the guild, and his brief role leaves a lasting impression, though not always a positive one. In-universe, Toro's defining trait is his ambition, which borders on recklessness. He targets Fennec Shand, one of the galaxy's most dangerous assassins, not out of necessity or skill, but because capturing her would instantly elevate his status. His lack of experience is evident. He relies heavily on Din Djarin for guidance, underestimates his quarry, and treats bounty hunting as a shortcut to fame rather than a discipline requiring patience, strategy, and composure. Toro's interactions reveal a deep insecurity beneath his outward confidence. He constantly tries to project authority and competence, yet he does not fully understand the unspoken rules of the guild or the tactical realities of a hunt. His ultimate decision to betray both Fennec and Din stems from desperation to appear powerful, hoping to step out of the shadows of more seasoned hunters. This choice leads directly to his downfall. Fennec manipulates him with ease, Din anticipates his moves, and Toro becomes a cautionary example of how arrogance can be fatal in a profession that demands experience, intelligence, and restraint. Among fans, Toro Calican is widely regarded as one of the least-liked characters in The Mandalorian. This response stems less from his personal traits than from how he functions in the story. He disrupts the dynamic between established characters, injects impulsiveness into a narrative built on careful strategy, and serves as a foil to Din and Fennec's competency. Over time, he has become a running joke, a symbol of overambition gone wrong, a character striving for prominence only to highlight the importance of skill, patience, and respect in the dangerous world of bounty hunting. Vice Admiral Amilyn Holdo. Vice Admiral Amilyn Holdo from The Last Jedi is one of the most debated characters in the sequel trilogy. Within the story, she is a seasoned officer of the Resistance, known for her loyalty to Leia Organa and her unshakable calm in moments of crisis. Her leadership style emphasizes careful planning and discretion. She limits knowledge of her plans to only those who need to know, not out of mistrust or arrogance, but because a single compromised officer could doom the entire Resistance fleet against the overwhelming First Order. Holdo's most defining moment is the Holdo maneuver, where she sacrifices herself by jumping the Raddus to light speed through the First Order flagship. This act demonstrates her commitment to the mission and willingness to bear the ultimate cost to save countless lives. Her calm demeanor throughout the conflict, often misinterpreted as indecision or aloofness by Poe Dameron, actually reflects strategic foresight. She understands the risks, the limitations of her forces, and the stakes of exposing vital plans prematurely. Her choices highlight a leadership style grounded in pragmatism, patience, and long-term thinking, rather than impulsive heroics. In the fan community, Holdo became highly polarizing. Some admire her as a tactical genius whose quiet authority contrasts with Poe's impulsive approach, appreciating the realism of military decision-making under extreme pressure. Others found her frustrating, perceiving her secrecy and dismissive attitude toward Poe as narrative obstacles rather than character depth. Despite these controversies, her actions cement her as a figure of sacrifice and strategic brilliance. Holdo embodies the moral and tactical burdens of command, demonstrating that leadership often requires difficult choices hidden from public view, even when misunderstood or criticized.